Attention, ladies and gentlemen. We're now arriving in Detroit. Once again, this is Detroit Woodward Street Station. And thank you for riding Amtrak.
All right, so welcome to the Wisendell Weekly Wrap-Up. Today, very excited. First guest of the Detroit Week edition. Shout out to Wasserman Projects, Allison, for hosting us, as well as introducing me to my guest today. Go ahead, you can introduce yourself.
Oh, man, appreciate it. Nathaniel Wallace with the Knight Foundation.
Nice. And talk a little bit more about the Knight Foundation, or how your relationship with the gallery here, too.
Yeah, so the Knight Foundation believes that informed and engaged communities can make the best decision for themselves. So my job, in essence, is to find those projects, find their momentum, and just pour gasoline on it.
Nice.
That's the essence of my job, is to really accelerate those projects that the community wants, that's already been vetted, and take it from there.
Yeah.
Take from there. So it's really exciting just to hear ideas every single day from
I'm sure.
communities. That's exciting.
Yeah. And the Knight Foundation has multiple cities, right?
Yeah.
And is the mission at each city similar, or they're all the same, correct?
So the principles are the same in each city. Every city has its own directive, its own strategy. So in Detroit, ours is framed around public space work, economic development, and arts and culture. So so those are my three tenets in which I kind of operate under this umbrella for the Knight Foundation.
Nice. And how long have you been doing it?
This is actually my 8th month.
Oh, wow.
So very interesting time to jump into philanthropy.
Yeah.
In the midst of so much change. It's been a roller coaster ride, but it's really why I joined the philanthropic organization, is because of stuff like this. This gives me an opportunity to really advocate for my city in a way that very few actually do, you know? So in the midst of COVID, while creating strategy for Detroit, we had to make a hard pivot, so from business as usual. So we had to make a hard pivot. So it became about general health services. It became about supporting the community. It became about making sure the organizations that were our grantees were supported, not programmatically, but operationally. Then the uprising happened, know. So now we're talking about equity. Now we're talking about diversity. Now we're talking about inclusion, but the focus on equity more than I've ever heard in my lifetime, So
excuse me, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's been amazing. So to just kind of watch the evolution of this world, this pre-COVID and this post-COVID world,
Yeah, I mean, expand on that a little bit. I mean, I know that I think the break and the pause is good for those kind of conversations to really, shed light on things that are going on.
I totally agree.
It's definitely not business as usual, and conversations are being had. It's bad, but it's also good, right?
Yeah. So it's an interesting symbiosis, right? So would we be in this moment, or would the moment be as intense if it wasn't for COVID, right? We all had this moment to kind of pause. Nobody's in the office, anymore. Everybody's at home. This is the most time that, personally, this is probably the most time I've ever spent with me, before, so, I'm reading more, I'm just doing those things that that you just kind of lose in, just
the day-to-day
doing the work.
grind. Yeah, absolutely.
So, so the movement happens, and you're forced to kind of you're reading everything, you're seeing everything, you're forced to reckon with that internally. And you really got to understand what's happening, am I doing enough, and absolutely. And the thing that's interesting is, even though this racial uprising has happened, and it's a lot of education being had by everybody. One of the things I found myself doing is really going back and rereading Du Bois, rereading Baldwin, rereading Bell Hooks, rereading these guys that I've read a long time ago. Yeah. And just getting ready for the moment, So, and I think that translates into the work that I'm tasked to do from the Knight Foundation every day. So we're in a transition. We're in a period of transition where everybody is rethinking everything across the board.
Yeah.
You know, and it's exciting to be in that moment.
It's exciting. I mean, it's scary too, right?
Oh,
and
man,
it's
yeah.
I tell people all the time, you know, like they ask how you're feeling, and I'm like, I'm a little scared, nervous, you know, because you don't know what the future is, and unfortunately, there's just so many things at play that you never know what the factors are.
Yeah.
But the Knight Foundation has a great arts program, and those grants. Can you talk a little bit about the grant process and how you guys accept grants and things like that?
Yeah. So the grant process is really simple. So you literally write a one pager, you send it through the website, we get it, we take a look at it, and you know, we decide if it advances or if it needs to be tweaked.
Gotcha.
So we got a lot of individuals that have submitted over and over again, and it's tweaked, and then, you know, they finally got in. But yeah, like I said, one of the things that I do all day, every day is just watch ideas roll in, and then see the trend, you know, and speaking to the moment, because you get to see during COVID what type of ideas are being had. You get to see during the social uprising what type of ideas are being had. You get to see all that in real time through the grant process. Yeah. You know, so it's a really interesting space.
Yeah, and I'm sure the amount there, the numbers of applications, like that back historical data, I'm sure it's kind of skyrocketed as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, like I said, I mean, everybody's in a place of introspection right now. So you got time to think about, you know, how can I solve this problem? Right. You know, you got time to think about those things. So you see that in the grant application process. So it's been great.
Any ones in particular that come to mind? Or
nothing in particular. Okay. But one thing I'm constantly reassured of and just always giddy about is the amount of ideas that's coming from Detroit. Yeah. You know, the quality of ideas that's coming from Detroit. Yeah. So, you know, the Knight Foundation job is one where you really just get to see the city through a very unique vantage point. And Detroit has been an underdog, you know, as long as I've been alive, you know, and there's so much stuff said about Detroit, you know. But from this vantage point, you know, you get to see how untrue it is, you know. So it's, like I said, it's just a great spot to be in. Yeah, it's awesome. I know when I reached out to a contact in Detroit who put me into contact with Allison, and I said, you know, is there anybody else you think who would be interested to talk to? And you were the first one. So yeah, I think that speaks volumes for sure. Allison's good people. Yeah, the Detroit and Chicago connection, I think, is pretty strong. I mean, I know that, you know, there's, I don't know why or what, but there's always seemed to be a competition between it. And I'm like, guys, like there's no, for me, there's no, I don't own any Chicago sports team, like memorabilia at all. It's like all Detroit teams. So I mean, I'm still trying to hold on to it, but the connection is pretty simple to make for sure between, definitely. We got a lot of people. I got a lot of people in Chicago. Yeah, a lot of people in Chicago. Yeah. Chicago gets a lot of love.
Yeah, Detroit. For sure. Yeah. So yeah, you were talking about wine. To expand on the wine, one of those things that skyrocketed as well when you were in COVID.
Absolutely, it's almost embarrassing. In fact, one of the things that I just picked up, you know, from a friend of mine who actually works at Detroit Future Cities. Her name is Anika Goss, and she's the head of the Detroit Wine Society.
Oh, cool.
And nice. She started this, I want to say probably about 10 years ago now. And through that process, we've been able to learn about wines. We've had Psalms come in, teach us about wine. You know, we got the cheese, we got the prosciutto, we got all that good stuff going. So it's been a 10-year journey to get me to the place where I'm discerning now. Okay. I'm discerning now. Now you can't just give me anything. Now, you know, I'm doing the whole thing now. I'm doing the whole thing now.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, we have like I said, the wine and cheese segment that we have on the podcast too, and there's a few Psalms throughout Detroit that I'm trying to get hold of, and It's just a great way to have conversation and to, really educate people on wine,
Yeah, man, why'd you have me for that one? Yeah, you got me
know,
for
I
this
should've.
one. I want to go
I
to the
should've.
wine and cheese segment. And we talk about the Nut Foundation.
I know. Yeah, I mean, it could go every way. I need to get some more actually. What type of varietal do you like?
I'm a big Rioja fan.
Oh yeah.
Big Rioja fan. I love Shiraz. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Chardonnay.
Nice.
Yeah, it depends on what we're eating.
Yeah, right.
It depends on what
All
we're
depends
eating.
on the food for sure.
Yeah, it depends on the food. I'm a big food guy.
Yeah. I saw there was a highlight that you retweeted recently about the some good restaurants and chefs doing some things in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how has the culinary arts like really changed in the city?
It's crazy right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy right now. Yeah. It's so many. It's the guys that's doing the restaurants downtown, midtown, and stuff like that, and then it's the chefs that's doing the private stuff.
Yeah, those
and
private
the private
dinners.
stuff.
Yeah,
it's hot.
Yeah,
the private stuff is hot. It's it's the little 10-person settings where they're doing food. Then they got somebody that's coming in with the wine, and you having a whole experience.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So the food scene, the wine scene in Detroit is, probably since 2000, I'll probably say about 2017, has been crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And how are the neighborhoods kind of changed throughout the culinary things as well? Like, are they really driving people to different neighborhoods? Obviously, right, with the different cultures.
Definitely. So, food and art. Food and art. I think that food speaks directly to the culture. Right. So you get to see the history through the food. That's how you experience it. That's how you experience a place. Right. For me, anyway. That's how I do it.
Right.
So to see kind of the neighborhoods and these chefs that's coming from these places and the dishes that they're coming up with, and their take on old dishes. The new version of the old thing. It's not. But the art. I mean, the art is transformative. The art is transformative, and that's a huge reason why I love Wasserman Gallery in particular. Is I came to Wasserman probably about 2 or 3 years ago. No, it's been longer than that. But Allison and what they do here is top rate, is first tier. It's inviting, is warm. You get a sense of belonging, and the artwork is phenomenal.
Right.
The artwork is phenomenal. But one of the things that kind of led me into the arts piece was in 2012 when I moved back to Detroit.
Where were you before? Sorry.
I was in the suburbs.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I came back to downtown Detroit, and it was bare. We was just about to go through bankruptcy. It was tough. It was tough for everybody. I think MoCAD had first came up with the sign that said everything is going to be all right. Yeah. And it was, and it was heavy. Yeah. And one of the things that absolutely transformed Detroit was the artists that just took over the city. So to see them, do the mural projects, to do the protest art, to really speak to things that a lot of people weren't speaking to. Yeah. Are they doing the murals in the market again this year? Or is that on? I don't know if
I know it was in September, so I don't.
And I don't know what's happening anymore. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do this year.
Yeah, that is around the time when things were getting very transformative, for sure. And sorry I don't know if anybody can hear that ringing. I know it's kind of loud right now, but 2012, and then you came down, and the artwork definitely drives a lot of. It shapes the city. Absolutely. I know one of our teammates, Mark, I brought him down here maybe two or 3 weeks ago. He's from New Zealand, and he was just in awe of he loved the city. He loved the people. And people were saying hi to him in the morning. He's like, that doesn't happen in Chicago or whatever. So, but he had a great time for sure. Yeah. So what are the main differences? I know in Chicago, the MCA and the Art Institute, they are a little bit different. I know they have different styles. Is it the same here in Detroit as far as the Art Institute and the MoCA?
Yeah. So very different, very different. I honestly think that the DIA is starting to do a lot more progressive work.
Okay.
Because the DIA is primarily geared towards the old masters, the old school, kind of this history lesson.
Gotcha.
MoCAD is, about what's now, what's happening, what's here, what's fresh, all that good stuff. So
that's what's enticing for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, knowing the history is obviously nice as well.
Absolutely. But I think that one thing that the DIA has done is they've been able to bring in, and I can't think of her name. They brought in a street artist and hung her prominently from the Woodward entrance.
Oh,
and
nice.
I think that was a sign that it was like, whoa, okay, we about to get into some other stuff.
Yeah.
So that was cool. That was super cool.
Yeah. And how about the Q line? When did the Q line get introduced in the city? Do you remember when that was?
I want to say 2017, 18.
2017, 18?
Yeah. 17,
Do you think
18.
that is was as productive for the city as they thought?
I think that it's a good start.
It's a good start, right?
I think it's a good start. I think that kind of gets the wheels turning a little bit. It's a lot of momentum around how do we extend Detroit to Ann Arbor.
Okay.
That conversation is happening right now. So we gotta have a foot in it.
There you go.
So I think that it's gonna take a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if we can actually extend this thing, it can serve a lot of people.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, the Q line is a public transit that goes down Woodward Avenue. Thank you. I had to double check. I was like, I'm pretty sure Woodward. Down Woodward. So definitely check that out next time you're down here. And also check out the People Mover for those historians.
Yeah.
You got to check out the People Mover. And the old train station, I mean, they're definitely putting in work, a lot of money. Talk about a lot of money. That's a lot of money right there.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
That's gonna be hot when they get that going.
Yeah.
That's gonna be hot. That's one of those projects that changes the city, So I think it's 23 million going into the train station. And then Ford plans on making sure that this is the hub for future mobility in the nation. So I mean, they're doing some crazy. They got some crazy stuff lined up. For mobility in Detroit. So I'm excited to be a part of that. As part of the Knight Foundation, I get to hear those. I need to get the city in on those ideas. And
man, it sounds like you got a great position. Man,
I can't complain. It's all right.
How did you what was your career path? I mean, did you go to school for that, or how did you end up?
No, it was crazy. It was crazy. So graduated from school in 2001. Owned a couple of real estate firms. One here, one Chicago. Not Chicago. One here, one Houston.
Okay.
Did that for a while. My father started a company, and he wanted to go into military contracting. So I joined up with him, and we have been doing that since 2008. So we was rocking and rolling, completely happy. I was fine. Life was moving along smoothly. And I get a couple calls from a couple friends of mine who's like, we want to float your name for the Knight position. And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. Long story short, I end up having a conversation with the VP at the Knight Foundation, Sam Gill, and we had an amazing conversation. We had an absolutely amazing conversation. And that conversation led to a conversation with Alberto, who's the president of the Knight Foundation, and here I am today.
So you went from private to
public,
private to public,
private to public. Yeah.
Oh man,
to public. Yeah. A lot of my friends didn't know what I did. They're like, "What do you do?" I was like, "I'm in government contract." What does that mean?
Yeah,
it was like, if you know, you know. If you don't, you know.
Yeah, it does have some mystique to it, though.
Yeah, but now it's just like, now they know what I do, and now, now
that's
public.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, back on the train station that they're making the hub of technology. They have the little showroom right there, right off of right by Mercury Bar over there. I I mean, what are the other big three or the other companies within the big three? Are they still making moves down here as well?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
How is that? Well, because the auto show was supposed to happen in June, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't have it, and now that's kind of crazy as well. Like, what are they going to do with that? Are they going to come back in the winter, or is that going to be?
Who knows? I'm sure that they're planning for next year. I'm sure that they are.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to see the mobility companies start to turn into tech companies. So
They have to.
They have to, right?
Yeah.
So now it's about the movement of goods and services, the movement of people, goods, and services. So you got GM who's building, I want to say a $2 billion. They're revamping their $2 billion plant in Hamtramck, to make exclusively electric vehicles. Then you got Ford who's doing the Corktown and train station piece, 23 million, not including the other work that they're going to do within that piece. Then you have Chrysler that I hear is going to work with Ford. So I'm hearing that these old rivalries, these things that kind of was these divisions. Now we're talking about, how do we retain our place as the number one automotive companies in the tech space, in the mobility space. So it's super interesting right now. To just see that fight, to see that competition, because everybody's kind of fighting with one another. But also everybody's also working together now. Because everybody's kind of leaning on each other's technology to take that next step. So,
well, I mean, you can't really be, the end all be all. I mean, you can, but I mean, you need a team and you need expertise of other people, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's takes some humble leaders to be able to say like, hey, I need some help. But that's an interesting thing. It's interesting that they want to go to Ann Arbor. I mean, is that just because of Michigan, or is it you think it's just because
Michigan?
Why not Michigan State? I'm a Michigan State guy, so my sister went to Michigan State. So.
I understand. I got a wife that went to Michigan.
There you go.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, that has been interesting. And then when the Knight Foundation, I don't know if you guys talk to the other cities, but like, what is the culmination, or what are those conversations? Because I'm sure other cities are having quite the same conversation that we're having for sure.
Well, definitely. So we always compare notes. We have a standing conversation almost, once or twice a week, and we're just talking about what's happening in our cities. So one thing that's happening across all cities is protest art, protest murals. So we're seeing that as a common thread, throughout a lot of cities. Now we're talking about equitable development. What does equitable development look like?
Can you explain that a little bit more?
So equitable development is the idea that that the residents, that the community have a say in what goes into their neighborhoods. And that's not only on the resident side, but that's also on the developer side. How do we make sure that that we have black and brown people that's actually doing the work, that's a part of this process? So it's bottom up and it's top down. It's making sure that equity is in every single piece of the process, especially in a city like Detroit. When we're talking about equity, you're talking about a city that's 80% black. We shouldn't be talking about
inclusiveness.
We shouldn't be talking about inclusion.
Right.
The conversation has to be about equity. Right. So, so in addition to the protest art, in addition to the equitable development piece, now we're talking about public spaces. We're talking about, what does a safe public space look like? We're talking about public space as a place for healing. We're talking about public space as a place for use for everybody, and how everybody deserves a great public space. I think one thing that COVID has really laid bare is the fact that, and just for me, I haven't been to the park as much as I have since COVID. I've had to go out. I have to get out the house. I got to walk around. I got to see people. Yeah. It just really affirms the fact that we're social animals, right? So, so really just talking about that thread, just how important public space work is. So, and a lot of those are just key tenets for Knight. Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the public space when the weather goes down.
Man, I don't even want to think about that.
That's going to be, and I hope to God, just people wear your masks out there, please, everybody.
Please
I know
wear
we're safe distance
right,
away,
right.
but please wear your masks out there.
Please, right.
It's, I don't know. That's something that's concerning for me, is just to see if there is a resurgence and the cold, like we're definitely going to be in this for a bit.
Yeah. So I literally just started going to restaurants.
Yeah, I haven't been yet.
I've been first time.
Yeah,
probably about a week ago.
Okay.
Outside.
Yeah.
They're doing what they're supposed to do. I heard that they was doing what they were supposed to do because I vetted them.
Yeah.
And it was just a great experience, right? Outside, the servers doing what they're supposed to do. Gloves, they're wiping everything down. You see the whole process going on, so you feel good. So, man, I can't even. When winter comes, it's going to be
it's going to be interesting.
Because I
think it's great for that. Yeah,
I'm not going to. I'm not.
I know we actually just moved into a new apartment in Chicago, and like it's a nice apartment, but it has some space. And I'm like, we don't know if we're going to be out.
Right.
We don't know if we're going to be going out. Like we're pretty much spending all the time inside by now, like working inside, doing everything inside. But it's interesting that like the dinners, things that are happening inside, more of a smaller element. I mean, I guess how do people caution to not create a bigger divide, would you say? Like, because obviously you need to be invited to those parties, and you need to, you need
right.
a certain guest list. I mean, and that's just kind of an open question. Like, what do you think? Do you think that's going to be an issue coming up, like in the future, or what do you think?
I think so.
Yeah,
I definitely think so. I think that everybody has their level of caution. Everybody's I'm a germaphobe. Yeah. So when this thing first hit, I was in the house. I was completely in the house. And I think I was such a germaphobe. I think I scared my poor wife, and she stayed in the house. And she's a person that likes to get out. So we were just in the house. So I think that as we get more information, as we get more real and accurate information, that's vetted, that's scientifically good and checked out, and they can give us, this is how this happens. This is what you need to do. I think that, your network is your network, right? So, me and my friends are going to obey, the rules of engagement, right? Yep. So I think that is interesting that everybody's kind of forming their pods, their tribes. Yeah. Because that, I know that all these people are doing the right thing. So I feel like I have a certain amount of comfort with them. And I think those will probably expand. Not too big, but I think those will expand. Yeah. And I think that speaks to, the small dinners, the small, groups of people getting together, the small thing, but really highlighting the experience. I think before it was about how many people we can pack into a place. Now it's about the experience. Yeah. How much of a experience can we get from this? What's the quality level experience that we can have in this moment? So
the experience is huge, and now that everything's going digital, I mean, I know that they canceled Movement this year, Tech Fest, or however people want to refer to it, but that was a huge cancellation for sure. Huge. And they tried to, I think they did do something digital as well. Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't have the same.
You don't get the same.
You don't get that the basement thud like in that basement.
Well, you got to feel the people. You got to feel that mood. You got to feel the whole thing. You got to feel the whole thing, right?
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the basement stage at Movement, that gets really loud.
It's insane.
Really loud.
It's insane. It's insane. You get to dress up, and then you're feeding off the next person, and everybody's vibing. Yeah, man, you can't beat that.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't get that off Zoom.
Yeah, you cannot. No. Unless you're shipping me a bunch of speakers, maybe. But they tried it in Chicago with Lollapalooza too, and it just wasn't the same. Okay. I mean, those guys were making so much money. Like they could have done something a little bit better, but I mean, it's difficult.
Everybody trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Everybody trying to figure it out. Yeah. And then how you monetize that.
Exactly.
How you monetize something like that. Yeah. You're going to take a hit. You're going to take a hit.
Right.
But still you want this quality experience in this experimental phase where everybody's just trying anything. You know, I think that one of the best things that came out of this was the versus battles.
Oh yeah.
I love those.
Yep.
I love those. Those are, I mean, I love those.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, nobody was doing social media like that before.
No.
And then I wasn't even on Instagram like that. You know, so you know, this comes along, and now I'm glued to when when D Nice did his thing when he first started off. It was 100,000 people on those things.
Yep.
And I think he got up to 300, 400,000 people.
Yeah,
just glued to Instagram, just watching them go.
Yep. Well, I tuned into Jazzy Jeff had a Wingstop Wing Day. He had a live session. He had like, I don't even know. I want to say like 40,000 people tuning in like that. And I was just like, wow, like that's crazy. A lot of dough, a lot of people, a lot of eyeballs that people want to pay money for. Like it's crazy. Yeah. The battles were good. Are they still doing those still too?
Yeah. So I think Apple bought it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think Apple bought it, and I think Swizz Beats and I want to say somebody else got in on that. So yeah, it's an Apple product now.
Damn,
it's crazy.
Damn, that innovation, just doing, right?
Just do it.
Just do it and see kind of where it goes.
That's right.
What other kind of arts things do you travel to, or pre-COVID, or what did you used to do for that? Or if you could talk about your personal art collection, like what do you?
Yeah, so one of the main things that I really enjoy is traveling, right? So I typically took about 3 or 4 big trips, about 3 big trips a year. And, you know, in those trips, I'm food, I'm wine, I'm art. You know, that's a good trip for me. Yeah. You know, so going to doing the street food, you know, doing doing the grandmother, you know, just getting a vibe from the people, like, where do you go? And where do you eat at? You know, tell me what a spot. I don't want to go to that. Tell me where you go. You know, and they like, you need to go around the corner and down the alley.
I've actually never been to Houston either.
No.
Like do you like that city? Or?
I love Houston. Yeah. Yeah, I love Houston.
Yeah, I need to
great people.
Make my way down there for sure.
Yeah. But but that's literally how I kind of fell in love with both art and food and wine, and that whole piece is traveling. You know, I think that you really get a good sense of the culture from the food and the wine, and then just having somebody explain it to you. Right. You know, and how it originated, how it came to be, and their take on it and all that good stuff. And then art is just so universal. Yeah, it is. No matter where you go, somebody has a mural somewhere talking about what's happening. Yeah. You know, and it's going to be everywhere, and it's going to be everywhere. So and in Chicago they had down Milwaukee, which was one of the predominantly most known, in Wicker Park, they had a lot of the boarded up storefronts, and then a lot of artists came through and did their murals on it. Did they have a lot of that here as well? Is that kind of how? Oh yeah. 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 Yeah, and I know that there was a few people who were trying to kind of raise money with the sale of those said things. So I don't know. Just some of those works, man, are so good. Yeah. They're just like very powerful. It's powerful. It's powerful. Sydney James in Detroit did one. Okay. She did a protest mural of Ballas Green with the names of men and women killed through police brutality, right? And she started a Kickstarter, not a Kickstarter, but she started a GoFundMe. Okay. And she had a $10,000 goal. She hit the goal in 3 hours. Nice. She hit the goal in 3 hours. She actually raised about $19,000. Wow. So she was able to hire staff and do some of the things that she wanted to do with regards to, making people, drink and ate and all that good stuff, and had a good time with it. But it was such a powerful movement. And then it really just spoke to the fact that people wanted to see something. People wanted a means to express kind of what they were feeling. And she created this mural, and so many people took pictures with it, and just want to experience her just painting. Where's it at? It's if you can't. We can always look it up. I can put I can't remember the name of the spot that she picked, but it's in the city here. Yeah, it's a building that she owns. Oh, okay, cool. She owns that along with another artist, Brianne White, who's an amazing photographer. And they just did it.
Yeah.
And it was hot.
Yeah, man. It's
hot.
Interesting. Like everything's going back to the streets, right? Like it's
That's
going
right.
from outside, from inside to outside.
That's how
Like
it
take it to the streets.
That's how I go.
And if you're not comfortable in the streets, then that's
Exactly.
you gotta rethink your situation.
You got to rethink it, right? It's the year of rethinking, right?
Yeah, the self-reflection I think is huge.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned it earlier, like self-reflecting, like, okay, well, what am I doing? Well, what's my part to this puzzle and things like that. So that's very interesting to know.
Yeah.
So just looking ahead, like looking forward, anything with the Knight Foundation coming up that we should be aware of or that's going on for 2021 as well?
Not necessarily anything particular coming up. I'm just excited about the ideas that's really matriculating in these neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. So, you know, with this renewed kind of vigor around equity, everybody's rethinking everything, you know, like we said. So, you know, and I'm blessed to be in this moment of transition, you know, in this position where we're putting equity above everything. Right. You know, we're rethinking our strategies on equity. We're talking about equity in every conversation. You know, mm-hmm. You know, we're not using code words anymore. You know, we're not using POC and then we're talking about black people, we talking about black people, we talk about Latin people, we talk about Latin people. You know what I'm saying? So we're going directly at it instead of taking kind of that scenic route. So now the conversations are a lot more rich. Right. You know, the conversations are really deep. Yeah. You know, and you know, there's a learning piece that's attached to that as well. So everybody's going through a learning journey. You know, everybody's refamiliarizing themselves with what equity means to them. You know, and how that applies to their work. So I think that if you're in the philanthropic space and you're doing this type of work, you can't I'm about to use a double negative. You can't not be educated on what equity means and how it applies to your work, mm-hmm. especially in Detroit. Mm-hmm. You know, so like I said, I'm blessed to be in a position where we're in a state of flux because of the fact that it's going to be so many great ideas that's born from this crisis. Yeah. You know, so sure. I'm looking forward to that. Nice. Yeah. Nice.
Well, where can people follow you at? Just in closing, like where, now that you said you mentioned on Instagram. And,
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Mr. Nate Wallace. Okay. And that's Twitter and Instagram. Okay. Yeah. So that's why I'm
cool. Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on, and
this was cool, man.
Yeah, man. Glad you were open to it, and we look forward to having more conversations in the future for sure.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Cheers, man.
All right, cheers.
Salud.